Hi folks, Ryan Mann here, and I'm here today with Jessica Whritenour, the Executive Director of the 300 Committee. It's the local land trust here in Falmouth. Welcome,
Thank
Jessica.
You, Ryan. Thank you. Nice to see you.
So Jessica, tell us a little bit about how long you've been doing this.
With the 300 Committee Land Trust since 2010. So the organization has been in Falmouth since 1985, and my role here at the 300 Committee started in 2010, and we are, as an organization, this is our 40th anniversary year,
Wow.
2025. So we feel we have a big year ahead, and
Absolutely
excited to be celebrating the 40th anniversary here in Falmouth.
So 300 Committee is called the 300 Committee because the goal was to raise 300 acres protected, right?
Exactly right. So the group that formed the organization in 1985, the goal was to preserve 300 acres of land for the town's 300th birthday. So the idea was, let's galvanize as a community around land conservation and bring a package of properties to town meeting for approval. So that first round of acquisition ended up being more than 300 acres. It was approved by town meeting and went to the ballot. But I think there was overwhelming support for this concept of land conservation. So many of the towns on the Cape at the time were forming their land trusts. So for the 300 Committee, that original 300 acres became the impetus and the momentum to keep the land conservation movement going forward in Falmouth, and formed as a 501c3 organization that year. Now, as of 2025, we've helped preserve 2,600 acres of land in Falmouth.
That's fabulous. And you know, if you don't know this, folks, I spent about 15 years of my life in conservation work. And one of the things I think is really wonderful about local community-based conservation is all the efforts, all the money, anything that the town might put into it, all that stuff stays here in the town that you live in and you work in, right? So that's pretty special.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the primary source of funding for the 300 Committee, private donations, members of the community who support and believe in open space conservation. We are really fortunate that Falmouth does have the Community Preservation Act, so when we have the major land acquisitions, we can work with the town as a partner and work through Community Preservation Committee, Conservation Commission, Select Board, town meeting. But the funding that Falmouth has for conservation has been tremendous. We have a major acquisition that we're completing in about a week and a half. The North Falmouth Woodlands, which town meeting supported with a $3 million appropriation, which is the most significant community preservation grant we've received. That's for a $5.95 million land purchase, 56 acres. But these opportunities for 56 acres are incredibly rare. We have, just a wonderful, forest and wetland. There's some vernal pools in that area as well. So high conservation value. And that's something that without the Community Preservation Act, it would be an incredibly challenging acquisition. So we provide combination of funding. Private funding leverages public funding, and that's really how the partnership has worked, I think, with the town and the 300 Committee for so many years.
Well, I think one of the things that's really unique about Falmouth, probably more than any other town on the Cape, is your partnership with the town. You know, oftentimes, I think of some of the towns that I've worked with, it really is kind of maybe some adversarialness, or there's some feelings of, this is our land, this is your land, but you actually work in a way that you kind of work with the town, that they will kind of own a lot of this.
Yeah,
is that right?
I give the credit to our founders, the folks who got this organization off the ground initially, because the way that the group approached the town was in a collaborative fashion, and really discussing, what the role would be of the 300 Committee and then the role of the town. In so many cases, the town is the landowner for the properties that are conserved. We provide stewardship assistance. That's something that we have a tremendous core of volunteers, and when we talk later about how people can get involved, stewardship, volunteer work. We have a trail crew. We help take care of the town properties, and it's an ongoing relationship and partnership, and it has to be.
Yeah. No, I think that's very special, very, very special. One of the things that I hear from a lot of folks that may be maybe a little less enthusiastic about land conservation is when you preserve land and you put it into conservation, you're taking land off the tax rolls. So I know, you're like, whoa, Ryan, why are you going there? But it's true. It's like one of these things that I hear a lot. Like, this is going to take dollars off the tax rolls that are supporting the town services. How do you talk about that? How do you?
Yeah, it's a fair question. I think, taking a big picture view is extremely important. What I mean by that is thinking about the quality of life in this town. What does preserved open space mean for folks who live in Falmouth? One, it means it's protecting their drinking water quality. That is priceless. One of the best ways to preserve drinking water, and we have a surface water supply in Long Pond. This is an unusual, situation, but being able to preserve land in the drinking water supply area has always been a priority for the 300 committee. Also, in terms of our coastal ponds and the nitrogen loading, having a balance of preserved open space helps with some of our nitrogen problems. I think from a recreational standpoint, a quality of life standpoint, there's an overall, I think there is some certainly increase in property values. The sense of having preserved conservation areas enhances the character of the town. It's from a land use planning perspective, and that's my background. That's what brings me to the 300 committee is land use planning. Balanced growth. There are certainly lots of opportunities in Falmouth for redevelopment and development. And what we try to do is focus on the sensitive natural resource areas with wetlands, ponds, near coastal ponds. But it's a collaborative. It's not an anti-development mission. It's a conservation mission for preserving Falmouth's most special natural spaces.
Yeah.
So I think it's a tremendous balancing act. But we have to be clear on what our priorities are for conservation, and I think the drinking water quality, like I said, has long been a key. And being able to be part of a community that has these large tracts of woods. We're raising families here. We have conservation areas near schools, and these are elements that, without having some of these preserved open spaces for access, that could be lost amongst the next generation. So a major part of what we do, land conservation, but also connecting people with nature, programming for not just stewardship, but outreach, education, really helping to encourage that connection between people and nature. Really, nature is an essential part of our health, I think, as people and as a community.
Right. No, I couldn't agree more. And the thing that makes Falmouth so special is, besides the 78 plus miles of coastline that we have, is the open space that we do have along with the fact that it's well taken care of. I was lucky enough to join a local scout troop, Troop 238, on New Year's Day, and we walked the Moraine Trail.
Hike.
Yeah,
Nice.
and I've never done it
thing?
before, and I didn't do the whole thing. I'll admit that, but this is literally across the street from my house, and to walk along this, and it's not flat, guys, just so you know.
Right.
It is
Some
up
rugged
and
terrain.
down,
Yeah,
yes,
that's
but
a great hike.
it's fascinating that we have over, how many miles of trails do you have? I mean, that's 10 right there.
Yeah, that's 10 right there. I think, throughout Falmouth, we don't have, all the trail maps and everything is on the website, but that would be an interesting
That would be a
total
really
to be able
cool
to share.
tool, yeah.
The miles and miles of trails.
Yeah, I mean, it's
So
it's
many
everywhere,
different-
I mean, I know a lot of folks know BB Woods and Peterson Farm,
Coonamessett
Big
River
River.
Greenway area.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible.
fantastic
But there's so many other spots, I think of just out of nowhere, you have these spots.
Yeah.
And
some are small, but the handicap accessible.
Yeah.
That's become something that we've been focusing on. Two Ponds Conservation
Yes,
Area, right
yeah.
near Atrium Woodbriar. You get a boardwalk at Atlantic Cedar Swamp. So there's some different types of experiences that you can get in Falmouth.